Hey friends, welcome and thanks for watching my channel. I am going to be adding content here. I know I haven't put stuff up in a super long time, but it is 2022 and it's time to start getting in the video game. So I'm going to start adding more content in video format instead of just emailing and all the other things that I do with you. So I want to first talk about, well, first of all, what's my channel about? My channel is about aging well. For women specifically, women aging well. How are we going to take care of our health? Are we going to get weak and old and end up in a chair, maybe get dementia? Or are we going to be vibrant and vigorous and have zest and joy for life for a really long time, decades and decades into the future for most of us? That's what I'm all about. I want you to live the best life you can for as long as you can, and until the very end, when that's finally a sudden, okay, I'm done and I'm not suffered for years and years to get to the very end. So I asked recently someone, if I were going to help you out, if you were just going to sit down with me, what would you ask me? What would you like to know about living longer and how to eat, exercise, any of those things, because I'm a trainer and a nutrition coach. She said, well, you know what, I practice intermittent fasting. I always wonder, how can I get a high protein meal, like one meal that's really high in protein? So I said, okay, perfect. I'll do a sample meal for you. And I thought I'd share it with you because here you are, you're wanting to age well and you know the value of protein, or maybe you don't, but we'll get into that plenty. Not today, but just assuming that protein is good, this is what we're talking about today. So here's the sample meal that I would give her. You start with a big piece of some kind of an animal protein. And I say animal because it has a better amino acid profile. And it's kind of like amino acids are the chain is only as strong as the weakest link. It's that principle. So if you have all these essential amino acids and amino acids you cannot make yourself, that's the definition of essential. We need to have them in relatively the right proportions. Animal proteins are more usable because they have the right proportions. Vegetable proteins, you have to do the mixing and the matching, and you don't necessarily always get that match right, and because people don't understand, it's kind of it's a more complicated process, and we don't absorb the plants as well. They're very much degraded during processing. So the difference being, you're going to get a lot more bang for the buck. If you're someone who says, I'm fine with animal protein, absolutely go for it. This is something that's going to increase your vitality much more so than vegetable protein. So get a piece of, for example, chicken. I used it because I put this meal in the calculator. I'm going to tell you how many grams of all the macronutrients you're going to get and how many calories you're going to get out of this meal. I used a big piece of chicken, 6 ounces, because remember, she skipped a meal. So she can have a bigger meal now and stay well within her caloric limit for the day. And we're trying to get a bunch of protein in, and chicken breast is a great source. 6 ounces of chicken breast. What I like to do is I make things in bulk. I'm pretty lazy. I live by myself. I don't cook all the time. I like to make it in batches and then have things in the fridge that I just heat up. So I'll, for example, take a couple of really big chicken breasts, put them in a plastic tub type of thing, put a little oil in there, put a bunch of salt in there, hammer them down first. I forgot that part. Hammer them to the same thickness. Oil, salt, whatever seasoning mix you like, and not a bunch of oil, just maybe a tablespoon or something, enough to coat them. Put the top on, shake, 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 get them all coated, stick them in the fridge for a day. When you take them out the next day, nonstick skillet, little bit of oil, because we're not adding a bunch of fat here, right? We don't want to add a bunch of fat. We have plenty of fat that we can play with in all the different foods. We don't want to pour oil all over our stuff. As much as you might have been confused by the whole keto thing, because this whole fat bombs and all that, no, we're trying to have vitality. And we, as women over a certain age, I say midlife and beyond, we don't have the body size. We don't have the metabolisms. We don't have the ability to burn up 2,500 calories of food, most of us. So we can't keep adding all these calories or we're just going to gain weight. So I'm going to keep us in a range where a normal person who just goes to the gym 4 times a week is going to be able to eat this and stay thin or lose weight, depending on your goal. So if you had that, okay, you fry that up, that's your meal. Okay. That's your chicken part of the meal. Done. I mean, I'm simple. I told you, I don't do fancy. Next is a whole bunch of above ground veggies. So I like to have, for example, this would be a salad, but salads aren't always that interesting. Sometimes you want something hot. So any of the above ground veggies that you want, but prepare them with little bits of oil, not a ton of oil. You know, if you're going to roast broccoli, big bowl of broccoli, maybe a tablespoon or two of oil, depending on how, and toss, 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 and have that water be sort of helping the broccoli to soften up as it's in the oven. So you're not slathering all this stuff with oil and making it really crispy and, you know, all that stuff, heavy oil. We don't want that. Or another option is take a couple of heads of cabbage. Honestly, I will do this. Chop really thin cabbage, stick them in the pan with a tablespoon of oil, cover. And as it cooks down, the steam will also help cook that cabbage, little salt, pepper, and that's a base. You can always add things later, depending on what meal you pull it out for, curry powder or anything. So there's your side of a whole bunch of veggies, some kind of a veggie. So you got this big piece of chicken, you got a big pile of above ground veggies, and that's the main deal. Protein and produce. You don't need to have carbohydrate like potato or rice or any of that. You really don't. Maybe once a day if you're not trying to lose weight, but if you're actively trying to lose weight, you know, you could just skip that. Because what we're going to get is we're going to get the carbs in the next part of the meal. So now we're going to have dessert. And the dessert's going to be a little bit of a protein dessert and a little bit of a fruit dessert and a little bit of a fat. What you do is you put half a cup of cottage cheese, low fat cottage cheese, reduced fat, half a cup of blueberries, put chopped pecans. And I like to get the pecans, I like to get them raw and then roast them so they're crunchy. And they're really nice added into salads and things like this, fruit and cottage cheese. So then you have that, maybe a tablespoon of pecans, something like that. So I put all of this in my calculator. And what I came up with was the entire meal is 644 calories and 68 grams of protein, which is good quantity, 27 grams of carbs, and 30 grams of fat. Now, it's not keto, you know, because that would be half your day if you were going keto. You could have this for a keto meal, I suppose, but the protein is really what we're after right here. 68 grams of protein. Now you might say, oh, that's so high. Well, we'll talk about that later because I don't think that's too high for a meal of, you know, you're not finished with the day yet. I think your targets for the day are much higher, you know, usually is somewhere in the 80 to 100 gram range. And we're closing in on 80, but we're not there yet. So if this woman who said, I intermittent fast, I'm basically skipping a meal, if she had this, say she skipped breakfast and she had it for lunch, she can afford those 644 calories because she's still got another meal. And even if she had, you know, 400 or 500 calories in that meal, that's a weight loss program for most people. So this big meal, which is very satisfying because of all that protein is highly satisfying. And then you add on another meal after that. It's a high protein weight loss program. And that'll get you there. You know, that general formula, a bunch of protein, a whole bunch of above ground veggies. That's what the volume is going to come from, is the above ground veggies. And then another higher protein thing, Greek yogurt or cottage cheese or something to that effect, and some berries, and you're good to go. So that's it for today. I don't want to make it too long, but thanks for joining me. And I will be back here again, probably, I'm assuming once a week or so, but we'll see how it goes. But anyway, I want to help you. So put your comments down below, whatever it is you would like to know more about. And of course, you've always heard this, whenever you watch a video, click subscribe, hit the notification bell, tell your friends, share this video, tell them this is where women who want to age well are going to congregate. And I am a midlife woman, so I know your struggles, and I'm here to help you because I'm helping myself too by learning all this. We are doing this together. So I'm here with you. And thank you for your time. I'll see you again soon. Aloha.